getting late and I cannot seem to find my way home tonight. Feels like I am falling down a rabbit hole, falling for forever, wonderfully wandering alone. What would my head be like if not for your shoulders or without your smile? Come on, with everything falling down around me. I'd like to believe in all the possibilities. What is up, everybody? Gannon here, back at it again with another one of my Star Trek reviews. It has probably been a while since you've seen me pop up in your sub box, and that's just pretty much because I've been away from YouTube, living my life, spending time with family and friends, just enjoying being 21. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've changed my banner, changed my icon and everything because I am looking to have a more full-time approach to YouTube. I am looking to rebrand my channel into totally like a science fiction channel. I'm really excited about it, and I'm really excited for you guys to see what I have in store. But nobody cares about that right now. What we're here for today is to review some new Star Trek, baby. Man, I really miss reviewing Star Trek. We've been in a little bit of a Star Trek drought, which I don't even think you could call it that considering what a typical Star Trek drought would be, like 10 to 20 years between a damn series. But when it comes to new Trek, actually, they're hitting us with constant content, and you know, whether it be good or bad, I'm just happy to see like all this Star Trek content coming out for me to consume and for me to share my opinions on it. Star Trek Lower Decks is what we're reviewing today, the premiere of season 3, the first episode. Also looking forward to that second season of Strange New Worlds. Of course, everybody loves Strange New Worlds. If you didn't like Strange New Worlds, you have to be a weirdo. Also, season 3 of Star Trek Picard is shaping up to be probably the biggest Star Trek event in like the last 20-25 years since Nemesis. We're literally getting all of the Next Generation cast members together in one setting, and Worf is coming back. We're already seeing the teaser picture of Worf, and he looks amazing. For all those reasons, it's a really awesome time to be a Star Trek fan right now. Looking forward to reviewing all of those things coming up and talking about them. Today, we're here to pick on and criticize the Star Trek cartoon, Star Trek Lower Decks. And if you've seen any of my other reviews for Lower Decks, you'll know that I'm slightly a shill. I kind of like Lower Decks. But with all that being said, let's get right into it. Season 3, Episode 1 premiere, titled Grounded. This episode is all about Mariner kind of confronting her feelings about her mom being put on trial for something she clearly didn't commit. That's where we left off on season 3. Mariner's mom was kind of dragged away at that kind of twist ending after they got done dealing with a whole bunch of other things, and I'm going to describe it that way because shamefully I did not go back and watch any of season 2 before watching today's episode and reviewing this. I just kind of wanted to sit down, have fun, and watch some good Star Trek cartoons. And it's also because I am painfully addicted to rewatching Star Trek Voyager. I think Star Trek Voyager has the best rewatchability value out of any Star Trek ever made, and I will go down to my grave with that opinion. There is no other Star Trek show I get more enjoyment rewatching than Voyager. It's the full house of Star Trek. Speaking of Voyager, we got a crazy big Voyager reference today because towards the end of the episode, Mariner's mom actually explains what went down in her trial, and she said that Commander Tuvok actually made an appearance, and while he wasn't like animated doing anything, it was just a picture of him, I think, doing like an aggressive mind meld in a still shot that kind of moved. It was just great seeing Commander Tuvok referenced and just being shown in the cartoon. Any of the old legacy characters are great to see. I'm pretty sure in the last season we got to see Tom Paris beat up Boimler. Amazing show. Honestly, I really have to say this now before I forget it, but I love Lower Decks because, again, in this episode, episode, it just proves how much harmless fun this series is. I've said this before, but nothing that Lower Decks ever does pisses me off. I have no idea what kind of relationship Lower Decks has with like the true Star Trek canon. They really just like to treat like everything's a part of this one prime timeline, and they ignore the little differences and canon mistakes. As you guys know, it's been revealed that there is going to be a crossover episode, Lower Decks crossing over with Strange New Worlds, and I don't know how it's going to work. Is the live action cast going to come to the cartoon world? Are the cartoon cast also going to come to the live action world? Honestly, I'm just super excited to see it. I have no idea how it's going to work. I assume it's going to explain a lot of questions people have with Lower Decks and how canon it actually is, because this show literally made Chief Miles O'Brien like a god, like he was the best Starfleet member to ever exist, which is funny that I bring up Chief O'Brien because there was this funny scene in this episode that I really liked. Basically, Mariner has to find a way to get to the Cerritos in dry dock without, you know, commandeering a ship or doing anything like super illegal that would get her kicked out of Starfleet, like just going to headquarters and taking a shuttle. She needs to get to the Cerritos in order to get Boimler's really detailed logs in order to help her mom on trial, because Mariner from the very start, just like is the theme of the episode, she is very untrusting of Starfleet. The way they just kind of wheeled her mom off and the way that they have her on the news, they have a, you know, CNN parody in this episode called FNN talking about how Mariner's mom is just super guilty, and yeah, it does make her seem like the bad guy, and Mariner's like, oh, I don't trust Starfleet to help her. I need to be able to do something. And she basically just feels bad because she's not in control. She says towards the end of the episode that seeing her mom wheeled away in those handcuffs was very saddening to her, and it really hurt her because for the first time, she really truly couldn't do anything. This episode also starts off with some pretty good scenes between Mariner and her dad. I'm pretty sure the end of season 2 was the first time that they had ever even been physically in a room together, not talking to each other over comm links. We just got a lot of that in this episode, which is really cool. They're down visiting Earth, so there's a lot of Earth references in this episode. They go to the landing site, you know, for First Contact, where Zefram Cochrane met the Vulcans, and there is a Disneyland parody theme park there, which was really cool to see. The idea that they have for actually getting up into space, because oh my gosh, I'm going on a tangent. Earlier, when I was talking about Chief O'Brien, I was going to mention that there was this very sweet, nice transporter chief named Denny, or Dennis, I think his full name was, and they were going to go over there and knock him out and use his transporter pad to go up into the Cerritos, and there was a whole bunch of jokes about that, and he was just the sweetest guy, because honestly, if you're a transporter chief and you don't have like a real Starfleet commission, you're probably just like a jolly, nice guy, you know, like Chief O'Brien was. That is, unless of course you're Cardassian, because, you know, Chief O'Brien has Cardassian Vietnam PTSD. Dennis was really nice and funny. Instead of using the transporter pad, they get the idea from Dennis, and I'm pretty sure Boimler, to go to the Zefram Cochrane theme park and commandeer one of the, like, Warp 1 capable vessels, because there's this ride where you go up and it's kind of supposed to be like Space Mountain, except Zefram Cochrane is a hologram on the ride and he talks to you, and it's extremely funny. I loved it all. Mariner, Boimler, Tendi, and Rutherford then commandeer this theme park ride and Jerry Riggett to actually go up into space and to go onto the Cerritos. And this really funny thing is that there's actually a 6th passenger on the ride with them that is forced to go along because he doesn't get off the ride. He's a little bit of a bozo. And then once they get on the Cerritos, he kind of has a mental breakdown and he's like, oh, I'm now Captain, I think his name was like Gary or Gareth. I'm really bad with names. People know that I'm horrible with names. I always forget them and mispronounce them. He's an unimportant character. It was just a really funny thing because at the end of the episode, you could see the Starfleet officers in a DS9 run about taking him into custody, and he's going crazy like, I'm a space commander, I'm a captain, this is my ship. Really funny episode. Also, a lot of Deep Space Nine references. They actually went down and ate food. Rutherford and Tendi in Ben Sisko's father's bar. His restaurant, sorry, to be specific, like his Louisiana restaurant. Rutherford was also wearing the Jake Sisko, like, really ugly, crazy sweater the whole entire episode for the most part. And that was just really funny to see. Love the Deep Space Nine references. When they were in the restaurant, they were actually eating food and dousing it with a Ketracel white hot sauce, which they need to sell, okay? Star Trek sells a whole bunch of expensive, like, wines and ales and James T. Kirk whiskey, which maybe if I had a little bit more disposable income and also a little bit more self-control around alcohol, I would buy those things, but I don't really want to buy those things. A freaking Ketracel white hot sauce, though, I would buy a bunch of bottles. You know, hot sauce is really in right now. We got hot ones with their last dab sauce. You know, screw eating chicken wings because I'm vegan and I don't condone eating chicken wings, but the last dab hot sauce is delicious. And you know what else is delicious, guys? This episode. This episode is just good. Like, I really cannot point at this episode and say that there was anything wrong with it. It's a reoccurring theme, like with the end of season 1 and Shaq's death, and then also the end of season 2 with Riker, how you think by the, you know, premiere of the next season that they're really going to utilize that and do a lot with it. And it's just the same reoccurring theme. Mariner's mom was never at any risk of actually going to jail. They didn't even show any of the trial. Like, she just funnily recounted about how she was saved because, you know, they put their trust into Starfleet. Starfleet's finest staged a rescue mission to actually clear her of her name, and all this happened off screen while Mariner was comically bugging and trying to help her mom. And that is, like, essentially a summary of what happened in this episode. And then also, Boimler's family owns their own version of Chateau Picard, but because it's Boimler and he's such a goofy ass guy, they grow raisins. A funny thing in itself, because I know for a fact, like, raisins have got to be the most hated thing when I meet people out in public. They're like, oh, I don't like raisins. Or, you know, a lot of people don't like cilantro. Like, a third of the Earth's population, it tastes like soap to them. More than half the people I meet, like, they get aggressive when I bring up raisins. They're like, I hate raisins. They're just dried grapes. And I'm like, who cares? They're fine. Like, come on. I snacked on raisins when I was little. They got the little chocolate covered ones. Those are delicious. But this episode is getting a 6.5 out of 10 because it's solid, it's good, it's above average. I was thoroughly entertained the whole time. Star Trek Lower Decks is just good. By now, we're on its 3rd season. This show is good. If you're hating on Star Trek Lower Decks at this point, I think it's because you might not like having much fun. It is a Rick and Morty, like, ripoff, but it's not a bad one, is it? You know what I mean? With all that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this review. I have a lot of stuff planned, a lot of stuff coming up with the channel. I would be very flattered if you're enjoying any of the content that I make if you were to subscribe. When we get to 10K, I am going to cosplay as a Star Trek Xenos, and I'm going to film myself probably going out and harassing people in public. So if you're interested in that, please be sure to subscribe. Because I'm trying to become more of an official professional YouTuber, I'm probably going to be begging you guys more to hit that like button, share with your friends, and also to leave the comments. I love comments so much. They're my favorite thing about this platform. If you have anything that you want to say to me, please leave it down in the comments or on my Discord. Don't message me on any social media. Don't try to DM me. No, don't do that. I won't respond. But if you do want me to respond, talk to me out in a public, appropriate setting down in the comments below or on my Discord. The link is in the bottom of every video. With all that being said, what did you guys think of this episode? What do you guys think of the new Star Trek coming out? Are you excited? I know I definitely am. And with all that being said, hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Live long and prosper.